In the history of entertainment, there are relatively few names in any given genre that can be called truly immortal. Some are culturally relevant, long-lasting, or just plain popular, but every so often someone comes along that turns the entire medium on its head. In film, we have people like Spielberg, whose work is certainly culturally relevant. I mean, I'm making a movie right now and just made a Jaws reference, and that film came out 35 years ago. But Spielberg's work, while popular, while long-lasting, is nowhere near immortal. No, to be immortal, your work has to affect the medium forever in ways that people don't even realize. I'm going to discuss a filmmaker that's done this. And if the tracking shot hasn't given it away yet, I'm going to be talking about Stanley Kubrick. Kubrick began his career as a photographer. These photos were instrumental in crafting his visual style for years to come. In them, you can see unique visual style, interest in somewhat strange subject matter, and, of course, wide landscapes that seem to capture the entire world of the shot. There's a unique use of lighting, and you can tell mirrors are there, but it's very hard to understand them. But it was really the films that made Kubrick into the legend he is today. Some of his scenes seem to be more like portraits in motion than scenes from a movie. Take this scene from Full Metal Jacket, for example. Now, clearly it goes on for much longer than it needs to, but in doing so, it becomes a moment. It's captured forever. Or this short scene from A Clockwork Orange. As the droogs approach the old man, there's no mistaking what this is from once you've seen the movie only a single time. Kubrick was incredibly difficult on his actors. He demanded an almost mathematical precision and perfection in their performances. But in doing so, he was able to craft these scenes, these moments, and it brought a clarity to film that hasn't been seen before or since. Kubrick wasn't without his faults, though. The dialogue scene between Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman in Eyes Wide Shut goes on entirely too long and could be considered one of the worst scenes in cinematic history. And not just because of the actors, but the scene also suffers because it kills the pace of the film as a whole. Pacing altogether is one of the more glaring examples of the faults in Stanley's work. Full Metal Jacket has a training sequence that goes on for a significant portion of the movie, almost a third, yet is never hinted at in the trailer. If we look at scenes from the beginning of 2001: A Space Odyssey, we can tell that they have no relevance to the narrative of the film. The movie could have began the first time the apes saw the monolith. The fact that there are apes in a desert is counter to any logic already. There's almost 4 separate movies, but ultimately it goes without question because of how amazing the shots and the feel of the scenes are. The story does become the low point of Kubrick's career, but we must remember that he wasn't trying to shoot story first. To him, the film and the shots were the most important part of the movie. Kubrick focused on parts of movies no one else would ever seem concerned about. Look at the impossible architecture in The Shining, for example. Rooms that couldn't possibly exist, luxurious rooms that take up space in hallways with walls no more than 2 feet thick. This is discussed in greater length in Robag88's video. Here's a link. There's also the fact that the man nearly invented camera angles. How many movies use shaky cam before Dr. Strangelove? Or how about Zero Gravity? Look at how movies use these techniques today as if they're second nature, just plain conventions of filmmaking. I'd try to make parallels, but the fact of the matter is that there are so many movies that were influenced by Kubrick's work that it'd be unfair to point them out because there's a chance the directors didn't even realize they were borrowing the technique. I have very little negative to say about Kubrick's work as a whole, but anything negative that does come to mind, well, frankly, I believe can most definitely be forgiven when weighed against the body of good his work has provided for the medium of film. I give the body of Kubrick's work 10 stars out of 5.